Alright, Shalom. I'm going to start by saying all praise to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles that were well, and salutations to the brothers that's doing the truth and sincerity. My name is Brother Pt.1, and I'm here to prophesy about the downfall of America, just as well as the rest of the kingdoms of this world that the heathen rule in. The Chinese, Japanese, so-called Africans. See, these are all made-up names, so to speak, that were placed upon these nations, but they have biblical nationalities. The so-called Africans, Hawaiians, Arabs, which Arabs just mean mixed, you know. Yeah, it's the end of their kingdom. And the ushering in of the kingdom of heaven through the spirit and power of Hashem Yahushai by the prophets. That's why we out here casting down imaginations that these nations that think that they're gonna rule continuously or even switch rulerships, all that's coming to an end. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and start with that precept. This is 1 Corinthians. I'm not mistaken, it's 1 Corinthians. It might be the second. The second Corinthians. Yep, this is 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 1. Now I, Paul, 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 1. Now I, Paul, myself, beseech you by the meekness and gentleness of Yahushai, who in presence am base among you, but being absent am bold toward you. But I beseech you that I may not be bold when I am present with that confidence wherewith I think to be bold against some, which think of us as if we walked according to the flesh. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. Right, what does it mean to war after the flesh, walk in the flesh? We are in the flesh, but we do not war after the flesh. We are not out here trying to raise up some militia to take down Esau. We are not out here trying to beat people up, you know. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High to the pulling down of strongholds. Right, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. Right, we are not out here to get carnal. We are spiritual men. It says, but mighty through the Most High to the pulling down of strongholds. Right, we come in the spirit with the word, the scriptures, the text, to pull down the strongholds that's upon the people's minds. All the lies that they were taught. Like this kingdom, Esau's kingdom, the white man's kingdom, his heaven, his rulership is over with. That's why the Battle of Armageddon is viewing over there around the Red Sea. What else? What other sea over there? The Euphrates ain't too far away. The Suez Canal ain't too far away. It's another sea. The Arabian Sea, right over there, Saudi Arabia. That's why this whole with Trump and firing all these people, it seemed like to be a game. Now he's firing, he's hiring, he's rehiring. Now he's taxing all the nations, starting another trade war like he did when he was in previous years, you know, which eventually going to bring the country into a recession, and then the monetary system is going to collapse. You know, but that's only for Esau. The Chinese thinking that they're going to be the next rulers, because they are. the next superpower. Then there's Russia, but they're not, you know, Russia is a form of they are Edomites too. But the Chinese are Moab according to the Bible. They don't have the next rulership. And after them, Japan and India, just to name some other superpowers in that area, they don't have the next rulership. Their rulership is over with. The scriptures already gave examples of when they were in power, and they don't have those that type of time coming back unto them, man. We are at the end of this man's world, man. So that's a stronghold that is in people's minds, thinking that the Chinese gonna take over, or thinking that the world is finna end. We just at the end of their kingdom and ushering in of ours. The so-called blacks, Latins, Native Americans, those who are of the elect of Israel, the chosen of Israel. Our kingdom is next, man. Their kingdom is coming down. So that's part of casting down strongholds. It says, or pulling down strongholds. Let me read it again. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations. That's an imagination that they got the next rulership. That the world is going to end by way of the Third World War. And every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, right? Because the Bible doesn't say that. The Bible doesn't say that we are at the end of the actual world to where this world is going to be just totally destroyed. And bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Yahushai, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Right? We bring into captivity the thoughts of people. We are not at the end of the world. You gotta look up that word world, the end of an age. We are at the end of Esau's age. It's a Greek word. The rulership of the white man is over with. Him being empowered, the superpower, the police of the world, that's over with. The Chinese are not up next. The Japanese are not up next. The Arabs, they're not finna rule with another 12 princes. That's over with. Who else? Them Africans. They're not the next rulers, man. Our rulership is coming. That's bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Yahushai, of what's in this word, man. And having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. Right, us men that's preparing for the Lord's return, we are supposed to be getting ready to revenge. Let me read it again. To revenge all disobedience. The Lord will give us men spiritual power to take down these kingdoms, to fuck up everybody that's opposed to the Lord's rulership. That's what we're getting ready for. Because us being fishers, like the scriptures say, we are fishers as of right now, teaching the word. Next, we're going to be hunters. And I'm going to get that precept in just a second. That was our lot. That's why we're out here. That's one of the reasons that we're out here, man. It says, 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 6. And having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. That's why we had to be out here. Our obedience is going to be fulfilled once we have completed our work. Once the Lord say, okay, it's time for y'all to get off the highways and byways. Because now it's time for all the judgment to reign. And it ain't going to be no more teaching these people the truth. The scripture said the Lord going to have our tongue cleave to the roof of our mouth. We are not going to be teaching the truth when all hell break loose. That's why you niggas better get the truth. You Latinos better get the truth. You Native Americans better get the truth while you can. Why it's here? Because once it's over, once all hell break loose, it's over. Ain't nobody going outside to go and teach the word. Meanwhile, they got tear gas flying everywhere, rocks being thrown, gunshots going off, fires everywhere. That's not having any sense. And then it doesn't matter what type of power the Lord gives us. You know, it's according to His will. If Jake had the power to do what they want to do, they'll still be out there teaching with spiritual power, boasting and showing out and shit. You know, but it's not of our will. It's of the will of Yahweh by Shem Shai. It says, okay, yeah, see, that's the precept. Let me get this Jeremiah. Yeah, so there is a cutoff date. There is a cutoff date for when the word is eventually going to be stopped. This is real quick. Isaiah 55:6. Seek ye the Lord Yahweh while he may be found. Call ye upon him while he is near. Right. So, you know, not only are we not going to be on the highways and byways, the internet eventually going to get cut off. As the scripture says, it's going to be a famine in the word. So the internet might eventually just get cut off to where you can't even get the word. But by then, the Lord going to have all his men. It's already going to be sealed. It's going to be too late. Even if the internet is still rolling, even if you got some videos downloaded and saved on your computer, or whatever the case may be, it's going to be too late. This is Jeremiah. Chapter 16, verse 16. It says, Behold, I will send for many fishers, said the Lord Yahweh, and they shall fish them. And that's what we're doing right now. We got sent as fishers to fish for our people. The word is the bait. The word is the bait. Same thing that was happening in the ancient world with all the prophets the Lord sent throughout the various times. Even when he came upon the scene, he sent for he went and got the apostles, or the disciples, who eventually became apostles, and they were what? Most of them were fishers, or some of them were fishers. He said, I will show you how to fish for men. Slack it, bear with me. Damn, fuck, I cannot find that precept. But this back at Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 16. It says, behold, I will send for many fishers, said the Lord Yahweh, and they shall fish them. And after will I send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain, and from every hill, and out of the holes of the rocks. See, the hunters are going to hunt. The Lord is going to give his men spiritual power to go and hunt. Who? The elites. Because the elites are going to miss the destruction. So they're going to be hunted from these mountains that they're going to be hidden in. The little hiding places that they're going to be in. For my eyes are upon all their ways. They are not hid from my face. Right? The Lord been watching them and the Lord see them. Neither is their iniquity hid from mine eyes. Right? So they gotta pay for what they have done unto us. We are the apple of the Lord's eye. And they afflicted us. Even though the Lord, the one that sent us to them for captivity and punishment and things of that nature, we are still his people. And he gave us someone to blame. We are still the righteous, the rulers of the world, the sons of God, sons and daughters of the Most High. How about Shemal Shai, man? You know, this is his will. This is his program. So he run it like how he want to run it. So he sent us to them, and now he's bringing us back up to him, and pointing the finger at them and having us go get them, go fuck them up, put them in captivity. They did this, and this to you. Everybody know the history of the transatlantic slave trade. Judah did the worst because they're the top tribe. But you know, Ephraim was on slave ships also. You know, it's that little beef between Judah and Ephraim behind who went through it the worst, and them being on slave ships. We all went into captivity at various times and got did wrong. We all of the same nation. But the Lord do have it set up as I want to say like some type of order. Yeah, because Judah, the Lord come from Judah. So who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ comes from Judah, but Judah is the firstborn. What else? Judah are he whom thy brethren shall praise. The other tribes look up to us. Yahweh from Judah, whom the world ignorantly calls God. The angels from Judah. I think the scripture said it came out of the waters of Judah. So the angels are Judah, Yahweh is Judah, Yahweh Shai is Judah. The Lord, that's the way the Lord got it, man. But we all of Israel, we all got our gifts, our blessings to form a nation and be able to deal with each other like that, man. We all gonna get payback for being in captivity, no matter who got it the worst, you know. Verse 18, Jeremiah 16:18. And first I will recompense their iniquity and their sin double. See, the Lord is going to do the repayment through us, though. He gonna give us spiritual powers to mess the nations up. We're gonna be able to kill them, bring them back to life, and we're gonna have them in slavery, man. Because they have defiled my land, and I filled my inheritance with their carcass and their detestable and abominable things. You see what's going on over there in Israel right now. They defiled the Lord's land. The Lord normally judges nations behind defiling his land, man. But well, actually, he's judging them behind defiling his land right now too, though. That's why all the hell going over there. But they defiled the Lord's land by their festivals, that pork shit, that homosexual shit, you know. And they not the people. If you're gonna live in that land, you gotta follow the laws. They're not the people, so they getting judged behind it, man. They getting judged, and the judgment gonna be way worse once we get the power in our hand. I think this is the precept. I haven't seen this precept. I haven't seen this precept in a minute. I forgot how it looked. This is the one that says. Let me see. Yeah, no. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna skip over that preset. Yeah, I'm gonna skip over that preset. All right, this is Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 20. It says, "Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. With thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms." See, that's what's coming, man. Not only are the Lord gonna give us the power to go get these, because the elites are the ones that's gonna hide in them clefts of the rocks. The Lord gonna preserve them from the nuclear missiles. But He's gonna send us to go get them. In the process of us going to get them, we are going to put all the nations in subjection. Just like how we used to do it in the ancient world. That's why it's good to know, read the first 5 books of Moses, because the Lord always sent us to take down heathen nations. You know? This is Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 20. "For thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. And with thee will I break in pieces horse and his rider. And with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider." This is talking about their military. The military men and the military vehicles. Let me read it again. Jeremiah 50 and 21. "And with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider," right? "And with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider." The rider are the military men. The chariot and the horse is their military capabilities. You know Esau got tanks, Humvee. What do you call them? MRAPs, but they got it's different names to them. Verse 22, it says, "With thee also will I break in pieces the woman, pieces man, in pieces man and woman. And with thee will I break in pieces old and young." So it doesn't matter what age. "And with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid," the young woman. So there ain't gonna be no discrimination. Women go get it. Men go get it. And it doesn't matter their age, man. Verse 23. "And I will break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock, and with thee will I break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen. And with thee will I break in pieces captains and rulers. See? Your rulers are what? Elites? Elite families? Because they the ones who ultimately got the ultimate rule around these kingdoms. See, even in China, they got a secret society that's above their president, just like the Rothschilds' secret society that's above the American presidents. They call it the Illuminati. In China, if I'm not mistaken, it is the White Dragon Society, but you know, they don't really, Shanghai Corporation Organization. I'm going to have to look that one up because it just popped in my head. But, the White Dragon Society, they don't even have that information on the net. Well, you might have to do some extensive, some looking. I remember seeing it when I first came into truth, and that was about almost 15. Well, I've been in the truth for 15 years, so I probably heard about them probably my third year being in the truth. Well, 14 going on 15. But yeah. See, these just like, and they showed it in the movie. Well, no, that's different. That's different. So yeah, the elites, captains. Captains is what, people of military status in the army. That's good. Verse 24, and I will render unto Babylon, which is America, and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea, all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, said the Lord Yahweh. Right. So America is going to have to pay for what it has done to us, man. And that's going to be via thermonuclear missiles. This place is going to be hit by thermonuclear missiles, and the elect are going to see that happen unto this place, man. And it's going to be it's starting with the elect, but ultimately it's going to be payback for all of the nation of Israel, what happened to all of us. All right, just Revelation chapter 15, verse 1. And I saw another angel, another sign in heaven, great and marvelous. 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of the Most High, and that's the thermonuclear missiles. The Lord is eventually going to give the angels the command to let them, well, he going to come back and do it himself, ultimately. And to let them nuclear missiles fly. The Lord's Spirit gonna be in the missiles, which is gonna be the angels. He gonna direct them to where he want them to go. You know. Verse 2. And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire. That sea of glass is the men of the Lord, the elect, the chosen, their wives and their children, looking through the firmament at the nuclear destruction that's gonna hit this place, man. And then they had gotten the victory over the beasts. You know, the beast is NATO and EU. Oh, and over his image, his philosophies. America has adopted the Roman philosophies, the Roman way of life, and got everybody following it. Because this is the modern day Roman Empire, because the dead, like it says in Revelation, the deadly wound was healed. Esau's forefathers were the Romans. They continued those philosophies in this kingdom. It says, and over his image and over his mark. That mark is the mark of the beast. Charagma in the Greek. An imprinted mark, something that's staked in you, which declares you as their cattle. They are your God. It's a stake in like a stake in you. That's a good example. They be having stakes in certain lands that declare certain people's property. They put that not only do they put chips, if I'm not mistaken, because it's been a long time since I looked into this stuff, but it's some history behind that stake too with animals. But I kind of forgot it. Damn, it just slipped my mind. Let's see if I can look it up in a minute. Let me see. Okay, there ain't nothing coming up about the animals. But a stake in land staking is the process of pursuing a territorial claim over an area. The claim is typically laid to assert ownership of the land itself, the natural resources of the land, or even the use of the land for certain purposes, such as development. Right? So that's that. Them putting that chip in you is like they land stake to a claim. Let me look up the word in the blue letter real fast. They declared themselves, they declared you their property. They basically trying to put us back into captivity. Ultimately, they want to get rid of Israel as a whole. But because the New World Order agenda, the Georgia Guidestones, 500 million people to be left on earth, and earth was known as the Garden of Eden. They're the devil. But, yeah, so the nation of Israel, they want to do away with the nation of Israel and enslave the rest of the people. What's the movie 1948? All right, so I can bear with me. All right, this is
Strong's G5480. Kharagma. Kharagma.
right. They say Karagma or Karagma. Strong's G 5480. This is Greek, which means Strong's definition from the same G 5482, a scratch or etching, i.e. stamp, as a badge of servitude, and that's what it really means. A sculptured figure, mark, a stamp, an imprinted mark, a mark stamped. On the forehead or the right hand as the badge of the followers of the Antichrist. And it doesn't matter which hand, according to the scriptures. When you go to the root word,
Strong's G5482. Kharax. Kharax.
Charax. Strong's G5482. Charax. That definition is stake. Hold on. A pale or stake, a palisade rampart, pales between which earth, stones, trees, and timbers. Okay, let's look up this word stake. Then look up this word pale. Let me look up steak first, because pale says some other shit real fast. Steak. A stake, a strong wooden or metal post with a point at the end, driven into the ground to support a tree, form part of a fence, act as a boundary mark. Shit. Them syringes look like stakes. Let me see. Appeal. It says a territory or district within certain bounds or under a particular jurisdiction, but that's stemming from an area or the limits within which one is privileged or protected, as from censor. We found another definition. Let's look up the word stamped. Oh, imprinted mark next. Stamped. Stamp. Definition. A stamp. A stamp. It says impress. Hold on. Oh, damn, that's wild. Press the wrong button. Flock it, bear with me. Now the phone want to act up. All right, it says to impress. Oh, not impress. Go back. All right, a stamp. It says impress a pattern or mark, especially an official one, on a surface, object, or document using an engraved or ink blot or die or other instrument. Hold on. Stamp ain't saying what I wanted to say. Imprinted mark. An imprinted mark refers to a mark or impression created by pressing something against a surface, often by pressure, printing, or stamping. Physical mark. An imprint is a physical mark made by pressing a tool or object against a surface, leaving a depression. Okay. No, that ain't it neither. It says if a surface is imprinted with a mark or design, the mark or design is printed on the surface. Okay, or pressed into it. That ain't it neither. I'm missing the definition that I had last time. Let me see. All right, it was a definition I was particularly looking for, but that word mark is something that's going to be, it's like a stake. When you lay stakes in grounds, you claim it as your property. Graded mark, badge, follows. Right, but that mark is going to be imprinted. It's going to be up under your skin. Yep, it's going to be under your skin. All right, this back at the Revelation chapter 16. Verse. What's that? Oh, yeah. Revelation chapter 16, verse 2. 15, verse 2. And I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast. Right, that sea of glass mingled with fire is the elect in the chariots looking through the firmament down at the destruction that happened that's going to happen to America. The beast is NATO and EU. The EU nations are a part of NATO. And over his image, Roman philosophies. And over his mark, the mark of the beast, MOTB, something that's charagma, root word charax, something stake, a stake. Oh. and over the number of his name stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of the Most High. See? Right, so that's what's coming, man. I didn't forget where I was going with the lesson real quick. But I was finna get into this MOTB situation anyway, because we're not too far away. That battle over there in the Middle East is gonna turn hot, way harder than what it is. Trump finna collapse the system. They're speaking about recession and taxes and everybody getting laid off. They trying to so-called save money and whatnot, you know, and shit. The nations are retaliating with their own tariffs or their own taxes, you know, which is, and they're isolating America, man, because they all dealing with each other, you know. Eventually, what's gonna happen is that the prices are going to skyrocket. Inflation. Hyperinflation. You see the price of eggs, that's an example of inflation. And inflation is going to turn to hyperinflation, because before you even start mentioning these taxes and these tariffs, the eggs and stuff had already been, them prices had already been rising. They had already, with the Federal Reserve, stopped adding taxes onto the money, because the U.S. ain't going to be able to pay that shit back. It's going to create inflation, soon to be hyperinflation. So these things had already been happening. Hold on. And we was mentioning this 2013. Starting from the apostles on down. Let me make sure I got the correct word. Okay. Y'all got to bear with me. It's been a minute since I looked at this word, but this word was popular in the media come 2000, I think 2013, 14, 15, somewhere around at that time. But this is austerity measures. Austerity measures are economic policies implemented by governments to reduce budget deficits, often during times of economic crisis and high debt levels. America's in high debt levels. Economic crisis is eventually going to happen. they reduce budget deficits. I'm gonna look up that word budget deficits in just a second. It says these measures typically involve spending cuts. That's why people getting fired. That's why he trying to implement taxes, because they want that money to come back in. Tax increases, here you go, right there. Or a combination of both, and that's both happening. Aimed at restoring fiscal stability. The word fiscal relating to government revenue, especially taxes, a legal or treasury official in some countries. Of or relating to public finances, so money. Of or relating to financial matters. Why don't y'all just say fucking money, goddammit? Of or relating to government finances, especially tax revenues, or involving financial matters. This is fiscal from the etymology. Well, this is the AI overview. It says the word fiscal originates from the Latin word fiscus, which meant basket or public treasury. In the ancient Rome, see, America's Rome again, using the same words, fiscus referred to the emperor's personal wealth, initially funded by taxes or later understood as a state fund. The term fiscal eventually evolved to describe anything related to government finances, including taxes and revenue. See? Let me go back. Now I'm gonna look up this word, budget deficit, because it's supposed to. It says implement by governments to reduce budget deficits. It says a budget deficit occurs when a government or individual spends more money than it earns or collects in revenue over a specific period. That's the U.S. government. That's why the Federal Reserve, all that borrowing they did to help rebalance the economy so it won't go into recession and to slow down inflation and soon to be hyperinflation. All that borrowing that they was telling people that they was doing that it would do that is actually the reverse. Actually, but it did slow it down for a period of time, but you only feel the effects in the end. It says a budget deficit occurs when a government or individual spends more money than it earns or collects in revenue over a specific period. The U.S. is in debt to multiple nations, and China is the #1 nation that they are in debt to, you know, and they can't pay that debt back, but they still pulling money out and sending money to places in other nations instead of taking, instead of fixing home, so to speak. Well, not so to speak. Instead of fixing home, that's what they're doing. They sending all these billions and billions of dollars into nations and putting it into their military. They're not taking care of the homeland, and they did all this borrowing, and now it's starting to catch up with their ass. That's why there's a zero tax on them on the federal money that they have received that they used to borrow. And as a matter of fact, that's something else that you can look into, because the last QE or quantitative easing that they had was for QE4, which is quantitative easing unlimited. The first three were specific amounts. And if I'm not mistaken, see, I have to look into that information. I'll do that later. How I'll be able to edify this a whole lot more. But it says, back to budget deficits. This shortfall is typically financed by borrowing. See? Borrowing money, like I was just speaking of. Essentially, it's when your outlays exceed your income, creating a gap that needs to be covered, right? And they cover the debt that they owe these nations. And these nations are getting rid of their currency. So Trump is starting this trade war, because America want to go to war with these nations and take their resources, and they want to bring in that new world order. So they don't care if they don't pay nobody back. They're going to take everybody else's resources. Well, the elites are, you know, through the U.S. All right, I'm gonna jump. And this is budget deficit definition on Google. I'm reading the AI overview. It said how it happens. Governments spend money on various programs and services like healthcare, education, defense, and they've been putting their money into that defense a whole lot lately. And they said they was wiping out people's paying off people's debts and things like that, but they don't even have the money to do these things, man. Healthcare. It says while also collecting revenue through taxes and other sources. If spending exceeds revenue, a deficit arises. Right. The money that they're taking in to pay off their debts is not more than what they are the money that they're spending, like a nigga. That's owing credit debt to banks and things of that nature. Consequences. A budget deficit can lead to increased national debt, potentially impacting economic stability. That's when your prices and things start to rise. Eggs is a primary example. And future financial burdens, according to Investopedia. Yep. Because you got to pay these debts back. Yeah, you got to pay these debts back. In order to pay these debts back, you gotta have money. If you ain't got the money, then people, all that money that you owe these nations, then the taxes start to increase. And if you don't become subservient to these nations and work out some type of deal, your society is gonna collapse. It's examples of these things happening already. You know, but that's what the U.S. starts wars for. You know. Back. So right, this is back at austerity measures. Austerity measures are economic policies implemented by governments to reduce budget deficits, often during times of economic crisis or high debt levels. These measures typically involve spending cuts, tax increases, or a combination of both, aimed at restoring fiscal stability. It says the goal to reduce government spending and decrease budget deficits. That's why all these layoffs are happening. Methods. Austerity measures often include cuts in government services, social programs, and public sector wages. According to Fiveable, they may also involve raising taxes to increase government revenue, as pointed out by Wikipedia. Right, so. Purpose: to address economic crises or periods of high debt by stabilizing the economy and restoring public confidence. And, you know, that's what they're trying to do. But it's not working, and it's ultimately a game with them. They are ultimately doing these things on purpose to collapse the society, you know. the elites know what's going on. The elect of Israel know what's going on. And, you know, you got people out there that kind of know what's going on, but not to the extent that we know what's going on. This is the end of Esau's kingdom, man. All right, so this is so I can bear with me. All right, this is hold on. You know what? Let me get this piece up first. This is Micah, chapter 2. verse 1, it says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. The elites, because the elites have devised a plan to collapse the American society. That's why the U.S. is in so much debt. That's why there's a such thing as inflation, deflation, hyperinflation, and America is going through inflation, which is soon to be hyperinflation, which is going to collapse the system. Ultimately, because they don't have their money backed by no gold and silver. That dollar is a witchcraft note and even got demonic symbols on it, symbols from Egypt, and, the worship of idols and things of that nature. And they made everybody believe that that was real. That's part of the witchcraft. That's the scriptures call it a bag of deceitful weights, because they can inflate or deflate the currency when they want to. Your real money is supposed to be gold and silver, and it's supposed to be a set rate, and that rate doesn't increase and decrease when you want it to increase and decrease because how you feel, or to cheat someone, because that's why Esau do it. But it says, when the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. The elites got the power to through the think tanks and the money to plan this thing out, man. Which ultimately gonna bring the collapse of this society, man. This is Micah chapter 6, verse 11. Shall I count them pure with the wicked balances and with the bag of deceitful weights? That's America's monetary system. It's a bag of deceitful weights. They can inflate, deflate. It's not backed by the gold and silver. Esau is supposed to uphold the law, statutes, commandments, and the scripture, because 1, he said he would. 2, he swore in on the Bible. And 3, he makes everybody else to believe that that's what he's doing. He's of the righteous and always got the scriptures in his hand, proclaiming the gospel. So in this world was governed. The world is being governed by the law, statutes, and commandments of the scriptures, from the land Sabbath to having the right seeds not mingled. Things of that nature. And Esau is going contrary to that. That's why the world is in ruins, so to speak. Scripture said, I will destroy them that destroyed the earth. There's pollution everywhere. The poison food, and Esau has fucked up the world. And that's all that is contrary to the scripture, the things that he's doing. And that's why everything is messed up the way it is, man. So I'm going to read this again. This is Micah chapter 6, verse 11. Shall I count them pure with the wicked balances and with the bag of deceitful weights? so I can bear with me, because I didn't have a lesson. I'm just going off the cuff, impromptu. Slocky, bear with me for a second. Okay, let me see. Nope, I cannot find this preset. Alright, go to this next preset. All right, this Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 6. Shall not all these take up a pair? Let me start up a little further. I'm gonna start at verse 1. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables. The vision is the prophecies, the table is the Bible, that he may run that readeth it. And you run once you get the word, you start teaching. For the vision or the prophecies is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. And we living at the time where it's not lying, it's speaking. All these events from death to war, to financial crisis looming, to the battle of Armageddon getting ready to happen, those are the prophecies speaking. And not lie, though it tarry, wait for it. Because at one point in time, these things weren't happening at all. Then they happen every once in the blue moon as far as the prophecies. Then they start to happen every so often. Now they're happening every day, non-stop. Is prophecies happening. So it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak. At the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry, and it's not tarrying no more. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him. Whose? Esau's, the white man's. But the just shall live by his faith. Who are the just, the elect, the chosen? Gonna live by the faith. The rest of the nation of Israel, at least over here in America, eventually gonna die, which is known as the 2/3, and then they're gonna be birthed back in the kingdom of heaven. You know. Verse 5. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, his philosophies, his monetary system is a part of his wine, and it's a transgression which goes against the statutes, laws, and commandments of the Bible, man. It's a bag of deceitful weights, unjust balances. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, right? Esau is proud, neither keepeth at home, right? He in everybody else's country. He has bases, military bases in multiple nations, countries. That's why they're over there in the Middle East right now. Who enlarges his desire as hell and is as death, right? And everywhere he goes, he brings death and cannot be satisfied, right? So if you thought this white man, Esau, was going to be satisfied and eventually stop a war, no, the Lord made him to be the devil. He's doing what a devil would do. But gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Right, over here in America, you got all the nationalities of nations over here in America. Shall not these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and saying destruction, when it actually says woe, to him that increaseth that which is not his, right, taking everybody else's land. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Thick clay goes into the word ibatya. The word clay is ibatya, which means debt. Esau has all this debt. That's why they got these budget deficits, austerity measures going on. Quantitative easing didn't happen. Now they got cuts, tax cuts, job cutoffs. You know, and companies, businesses are packing up and leaving this place because of it, man. So America is on its way out. And that's a good thing, man. That is a good thing. That this place is going down. Alright, select it. Every time you try to do what's right, do the work, that's what Satan kick in. Now you got allergies and shit. All type of shit start to go wrong. But that's how you know you're doing the right thing. This is Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 7. It says, Babylon, which is America, had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. America has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. That golden cup represents when the Lord sent his people over here to America, and Esau put them in captivity and lifted this place up. We built this place up. That's what slavery was about. Not you crackers, because when you watch a lot of these documentaries and read a lot of these racist, supremacist, cracker, Edomite groups, they make it seem as if they built this place up, when they just built it up off of our backs, man. And that's why they all gonna die eventually. But they going into captivity first, man. That's why the Bible called them the devil. They're the deceivers. But it says, Jeremiah 51:7, Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken with her philosophies. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Right, the nations are mad at the U.S. because if her system collapsed, well, before her system collapsed, everyone who's dealing with her currency, depending on how strong their currency is going to collapse. That's what happened when they implemented the austerity measures. Spain, other weaker nations, which is Bible prophecy in Daniel chapter 2, start at verse 32. Some weak, some strong. Defeat. What is it? Part clay. And I'm gonna have to get it. But yeah, when the U.S. currency is devalued, which creates inflation, all the nations, since she is the so-called top currency, or was a so-called top currency, all the nations that deal with her currency experience the same effects. And since their currency isn't strong enough, a lot of they have to, if their society doesn't collapse, they eventually take out loans and things. They call it bailouts, and what else they say? What else? It's another word that they call it, but it affects everyone's economy. And everybody, once their economy is affected, you know, their prices rise. Their people are mad at them and rising up against them. So the nations have became mad at that fact, man. Just to keep it on the monetary situation. They're mad for other reasons other than the money. Her democracy. They're mad at that. You know? And that democracy covers a whole wide range of things. LGBT, the women ruling over you, etc. It says, Jeremiah 51:7, Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed, and this is future prophecy. The nations are going to get so mad at America that they're going to destroy her by way of thermonuclear missiles. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. Right, and they tried to heal Babylon by putting more money into the system, which didn't work. That's the balm for a pain. A balm is an ointment to heal a wound. America is finna say it. I ain't gotta say it. It says, take balm for a pain, if so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, which is America, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go, everyone into his own country. Right, see, the nations are, that's why all these stores are closing down. Because the people that own these stores, well, the nations, keep it on the nations, keep it in the context. A lot of the nations that own these stores are leaving America and going back to their own countries, taking their money with them, because China is upcoming, Russia is upcoming, the BRICS organization. Them nations over there know that the U.S. is going down, and they're banding together and lifting up each other's society while America is going down. So the nations that own companies over here, they're leaving this place, man. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country. For her judgment reaches unto heavens and is lifted up even to the skies. Right. The fact that the U.S. has had us over here in captivity is why she's going to be destroyed. The elites that orchestrated everything, they're going into captivity behind it. Those who are left over here in America, once the nuclear missiles hit, they're going to die. That's why in Jeremiah 16, it said that they going to hide in the rocks and things of that nature because they're going to try to escape. The Lord is going to preserve the elites for us to put them in captivity. This is Isaiah chapter 24, verse 21. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord Yahweh shall punish the host of the high ones, the elites, you Rothschilds, you secret societies that's ruling these nations, whatever name y'all, a corporation, or whatever name y'all go under. Y'all gonna be punished, man. That are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. You guys that's in the back, Satan getting active. You guys that's in the back, thinking that y'all, well, the elites, they know what's going on, and they know that they got death. They got captivity coming. That's why they gonna run. Hold on, let me stop this right quick.